Let's talk about a fire. Not a roaring blaze, but a quiet, persistent smolder deep inside many of us. Scientists have a name for it: inflammaging. It's this chronic low-grade inflammation, a subtle systemic state that acts like a hidden thread, connecting many age-related diseases and gradually chipping away at our health span, those vital years we hope to live free from chronic illness. How widespread is this internal fire? Consider a simple blood test for high-sensitivity C-reactive protein, or hsCRP. Think of it as your body's inflammation dipstick. Ideally, levels should be below 1 milligram per liter, but levels of just 2 or 3 significantly raise the risk for heart attacks and strokes. Here's the unsettling part. Most middle-aged adults in Western societies are already living above that ideal 1 mgl line. This quiet inflammation isn't some rare condition. It's become the background noise of modern life. And it tends to worsen with age, contributing not just to heart disease, but also to poorer physical and cognitive function, reduced survival odds, and increased vulnerability to Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, diabetes, kidney disease, and sarcopenia, the debilitating loss of muscle mass. The potential toll is stark. Higher baseline CRP levels can correlate with up to a 42% increased risk of premature death. Often, CRP is simply responding to signals from another key player, interleukin-6 or IL-6. This pro-inflammatory messenger essentially tells the liver, make more CRP. While typically low in youth, IL-6 levels often start climbing around our 50s or 60s. The impact is dramatic. In studies of adults over 65, those with the highest IL-6 faced a nearly 40% chance of dying within 5 years, compared to less than 10% for those with the lowest levels. Even among centenarians, lower IL-6 triples the odds of surviving nearly 5 years longer. Evidence suggests IL-6 isn't just a marker. It appears to be an active driver of disease. So what fuels this inflammatory state? Part of it is our aging immune system, a process called immunosenescence. Our defenses become less precise. We get more susceptible to infections like pneumonia. Old viruses, like the one causing chickenpox, can reawaken as shingles decades later. Vaccines become less effective. The annual flu shot might only be half as potent for the older adults who need it most. And paradoxically, as targeted responses weaken, generalized inflammatory activity ramps up. Your immune cells can become overly reactive, contributing to the state of weakened defense, coupled with chronic counterproductive inflammation, the very definition of inflammaging. But the sources aren't just immune-related. Even our skin plays a role. Around age 45, its barrier function can start to weaken. It gets drier and tiny breaches appear. These aren't just cosmetic. They allow irritants in, triggering immune responses that add to inflammation throughout the body. Sounds almost too simple, right? Yet, a 2019 study was fascinating. Elderly adults, average age 78, applied a basic moisturizer twice daily. In just 1 month, their blood levels of key inflammatory markers, including IL-6, dropped significantly, starting to resemble levels seen in people decades younger. Simply maintaining skin integrity could be a tangible way to cool systemic inflammation. Other factors add fuel. Old senescent cells that have stopped dividing but linger like unwanted guests secrete inflammatory molecules called the SASP, senescence-associated secretory phenotype. Our cellular cleanup crew, autophagy, also slows down, letting internal garbage accumulate and potentially trigger inflammation. And then there's diet, a huge factor. Processed foods and many animal products are loaded with advanced glycation end products, AGE, harmful compounds formed when sugars meet proteins or fats, especially under high heat. They are potent inflammation drivers. Our own body fat, particularly the deep visceral fat around our organs, isn't just passive storage. It's an active endocrine tissue. In obesity, fat can expand so fast it outstrips its blood supply, creating oxygen-starved zones. Fat cells die, attracting inflammatory immune cells called macrophages. In severe obesity, belly fat can be teeming with these cells, sometimes fused into giant cells, a sign of chronic inflammation typically seen in diseases like tuberculosis. This local fire spills inflammatory chemicals into our bloodstream, fueling systemic inflammaging. Dietary cholesterol worsens this, accumulating in fat cells and promoting inflammation. Studies comparing vegetarians and meat eaters show significantly less fat inflammation in vegetarians who consume far less dietary cholesterol. While eggs are concentrated sources, meat overall contributes more cholesterol, with white meat often providing twice as much as red meat. Our gut is another critical frontier. With age, our gut microbiome often shifts, favoring pro-inflammatory bacteria. Simultaneously, the gut lining can become more permeable, the leaky gut phenomenon. This allows bacterial bits like endotoxins to seep into the bloodstream, further provoking inflammation. Recognizing diet's power, researchers created the Dietary Inflammatory Index, or DII. It scores foods based on their inflammatory potential. Diets high in animal products, processed foods, saturated trans fats, and cholesterol get high, pro-inflammatory scores. Diets rich in whole plant foods, fiber, and phytonutrients get low. Anti-inflammatory scores, negative is good. The standard American diet consistently scores as pro-inflammatory. A high DII diet is linked to a grim list: impaired kidney, lung, and liver function, higher cardiovascular risk, faster cellular aging, shorter telomeres, increased frailty and falls, cognitive decline, worse mental health, poor sleep, and significantly higher risk for numerous cancers: esophageal, stomach, liver, pancreatic, colorectal, kidney, bladder, prostate, breast, ovarian, and more. People eating the most inflammatory diets face roughly 75% higher odds of having cancer, a 67% greater risk of dying from it, and a 23% higher risk of premature death overall compared to those with the most anti-inflammatory diets. Who are the main dietary culprits? Saturated and trans fats are arguably the most potent. In the USA, think cheese, pizza, desserts, chicken, pork, burgers. The hit is immediate. Studies using high-saturated fat meals, like a sausage and egg McMuffin or even straight heavy cream, show inflammation markers spiking and artery function plummeting within hours. Arteries can lose half their ability to relax properly shortly after such a meal. Palmitic acid, common in meat and dairy, directly triggers inflammation and helps bacterial endotoxins leak from the gut into circulation. These endotoxins found in foods like ground meat are incredibly heat-stable. Boiling for 2 hours doesn't destroy them. Cooking doesn't eliminate the risk. Endotoxin activity appears in the blood just an hour after a high-fat meal. Saturated fat acts like a key, unlocking the gut barrier high up and escorting endotoxins directly into lymphatic vessels that drain into the bloodstream, bypassing initial liver detoxification. Beyond fat, animal protein itself can trigger inflammation, stressing the kidneys temporarily after consumption, an effect not seen with plant protein. Then there's new 5-GCs, an inflammatory sugar in mammalian meat, beef, pork, lamb, and dairy, but not made by humans, birds, or fish. Consuming this foreign molecule triggers an immune response, acting like a Trojan horse promoting chronic inflammation. Even excess salt is increasingly recognized as pro-inflammatory, linked to worsening asthma, MS, and arthritis. But here's where the story turns hopeful. This is the really empowering part. We have tremendous power to push back against this inflammatory tide. The overwhelming scientific consensus points to plants as our most powerful allies. Fiber is a superstar. Found in whole grains, legumes, fruits, and vegetables, fiber feeds our beneficial gut bacteria. They ferment it, producing short-chain fatty acids, especially butyrate. Butyrate fuels our colon cells and signals our immune system to calm down, suppressing inflammatory reactions and boosting the anti-inflammatory cytokine interleukin-10, IL-10. This explains why high-fiber diets consistently correlate with lower rates of conditions like knee osteoarthritis and COPD, and contribute to a significant 15% reduction in premature death risk. Note, non-fermentable fiber supplements like psyllium husk don't provide this benefit. Yapions cover a wealth of other anti-inflammatory compounds. Nutrients like flavonoids in apples, oranges, celery, parsley, chamomile tea actively fight inflammation. Spices are potent. Turmeric, ginger, and garlic are top contenders. As little as half a teaspoon of turmeric daily shows benefits. Ginger rivals ibuprofen for arthritis pain, helps with migraines, eases menstrual pain, and may even protect the stomach. Berries packed with anthocyanins significantly reduce inflammation markers. Cruciferous vegetables, kale, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, contain compounds like sulforaphane that inhibit NF-kappa B, a master switch for inflammation. Eating about an ounce of broccoli sprouts daily dramatically cut CRP and IL-6 in one study. Seeds also show promise. Sesame seeds help knee osteoarthritis pain, and flax seeds reduced pro-inflammatory oxalipins back to youthful levels within weeks. When diets are compared head-to-head in clinical trials, the pattern is clear. Shifting to a whole food, plant-based diet typically cuts CRP levels by 30–40% within weeks. Even partial shifts help. Replacing some meat with legumes reduced key inflammation markers by about 1/3 in 2 months. The key is whole plant foods. Processed vegan junk food can actually increase inflammation. Interestingly, the anti-inflammatory core of aspirin is salicylic acid, which is naturally abundant in many plant foods. People eating plant-based diets can achieve blood levels overlapping those taking low-dose aspirin, potentially getting similar benefits without the bleeding risks. Our diet's influence reaches far beyond inflammation, touching nearly every known biological aging mechanism. Take the mTOR pathway. Crucial for youthful growth, high mTOR activity in adulthood seems to accelerate aging. It's fueled by specific amino acids, methionine and branched-chain amino acids, BCAAs, most concentrated in animal proteins. Plant-based diets naturally contain much less, about 30% fewer BCA, nearly 50% less methionine. This difference might partly explain the longevity seen in plant-based populations. Conversely, compounds in tomatoes, broccoli, coffee, and green tea seem to gently dampen mTOR. Then there are mitochondria, our cellular power plants. The mitochondrial theory of aging points to damage from free radicals. Plants are antioxidant dynamos, averaging 64 times more antioxidants than animal foods. Berries, herbs, and spices are exceptionally rich. Eating these foods boosts our blood's antioxidant capacity and protects our DNA. Studies show DNA protection from blueberries, nuts, spinach, cruciferous veggies, kiwis, green tea, and spices. Favoring plant protein also restricts methionine, reducing oxidative stress. Conversely, saturated fat, high-heat cooked meats, and oxidized cholesterol, COPS, in cooked processed animal foods are potent pro-oxidants. Sirtuins, the guardians of health span, help with DNA repair, inflammation, and metabolism. Their activity declines with age but is crucial for healthy aging. While resveratrol from red wine didn't live up to its hype, other factors help. Apple consumption is linked to longer lifespans, and cardamom consumption boosted blood sirtuin levels in one human trial. Smoking and those inflammatory AGEs suppress sirtuins. Finally, telomeres, the protective caps on our chromosomes, like biological fuses, is shortened with cell division. Critically short telomeres trigger cell senescence or death, contributing to aging. Oxidative stress and inflammation accelerate shortening. Here again, diet is paramount. High-fiber, antioxidant-rich plant diets correlate with longer telomeres. Processed meats, sugary sodas, and high-fat dairy link to shorter ones. The enzyme telomerase rebuilds telomeres. Dr. Dean Ornish's landmark studies showed a lifestyle program centered on a whole food, plant-based diet, plus exercise and stress management significantly increased telomerase activity. Over 5 years, participants actually showed telomere lengthening, reversing cellular aging at this level. The dietary shift appeared to be the most critical factor. Fiber coffee, green tea, and cruciferous veggies associate with better telomere health. The crucial point is that these pathways, inflammation, mTOR, oxidative stress, sirtuins, telomeres, are interconnected. They form a complex network regulating how we age. While drugs targeting specific nodes show promise, a comprehensive lifestyle approach, especially dietary change, uniquely influences multiple pathways simultaneously. The evidence is undeniable. The global burden of disease study consistently ranks poor diet as the single leading cause of death and disability worldwide, and in the USA, surpassing even tobacco among Americans. Yet out of this complexity emerges a clear, consistent message. Dietary patterns linked to health and longevity universally emphasize fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds, while minimizing refined grains, processed foods, sugary drinks, and animal products. A massive review confirmed whole plant foods are overwhelmingly protective or neutral. Animal foods are predominantly harmful or neutral. Some estimates suggest even small daily amounts of processed meat significantly raise cancer risk and may measurably shorten lifespan. Conversely, healthy plant-based diets consistently correlate with lower mortality and reduced risk of major diseases, potentially cutting Alzheimer's risk by more than half. So that smoldering fire of inflammaging, those intricate biological clocks, we have far more influence than we often realize. It's not about perfection. It's about understanding the profound power in our daily choices. Each meal offers a chance to either fan the flames of aging or help quench them. Embracing eating patterns centered on the diversity and protective power of whole plant foods, we engage the most robust, science-backed strategy available to cool inflammation, support healthy aging across interconnected pathways, and dramatically boost our health span. We can add not just years to our life, but vibrant, healthy life to our years. The journey of aging, it turns out, is far more adaptable, far more within our grasp than we ever imagined.